Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into a struggle I think we literally all face at some point. Why do we constantly seek external approval? And, more importantly, how do we finally build genuine self-trust? We're going to unpack the psychology behind why we crave reassurance so much and look at how to actually shift that focus back inward. So, ask yourself, does this exhausting question just pop into your head after a completely normal, everyday conversation? You know the feeling. You're driving home or you just hung up the phone, and suddenly you're replaying every single word. Like, did that joke land? Was my tone too harsh? Or wait, did I somehow just offend my best friend? Or maybe you catch yourself wondering this the exact second you walk away from meeting someone new. It's funny, instead of asking yourself, hey, did I actually like them? Your brain instantly defaults to scanning their facial expressions and tone of voice. You're basically trying to gauge if you performed well enough to earn their approval. And honestly, it doesn't stop there. If you find yourself constantly looking for reassurance before making even the tiniest decisions, polling everyone you know, asking, what do you think I should do, you are absolutely not alone. But what it really means is that you've kind of stopped trusting your own internal compass. Now, seeking validation is a completely natural human need. We are biologically wired as social creatures to want to feel accepted, right? In fact, your brain processes social rejection using the exact same neural pathways as literal physical pain. So wanting connection is completely normal. But when your self-worth depends entirely on other people's compliments or opinions, your confidence becomes this wild roller coaster that you aren't even steering. It leaves you feeling anxious, exhausted, and honestly, totally disconnected from who you really are. So let's look at section 1, tracing the root causes. Where exactly does this come from? Well, to understand it, we often have to look back. Our inner child might still be longing for unmet childhood needs, things like safety, affection, or acceptance. And we often learned to trade our own needs just to get that acceptance. Maybe growing up, you were only praised when you achieved something, like getting high grades. Or, maybe you learned to just keep everyone happy to avoid unpredictable conflict at home. Or perhaps you were criticized so often that you simply stopped trusting your own voice altogether. Over time, your brain actually started to believe that your value came exclusively from what other people thought about you, rather than who you inherently are. And this brings up a really crucial distinction, the sharp line between genuine generosity and fear-based people-pleasing. Think about it. If you are saying yes when you desperately want to say no, you aren't actually practicing kindness. You're practicing self-abandonment. You're literally silencing your own truth just because you're afraid of being seen as difficult or making waves. Moving on to section 2, let's talk about the cost of people-pleasing, the real emotional toll this takes. Relying on external validation creates this massive vicious cycle. You become so hypervigilant about managing other people's emotions that you completely lose touch with your own. You say yes to absolutely everything, which naturally leads to chronic anxiety, sheer exhaustion, and this deep, quiet resentment that just simmers under the surface. Eventually, your entire identity just sort of morphs into whatever the room needs you to be. You lose yourself. And here is the really tricky part. No amount of praise or reassurance is ever going to stick if your own inner voice is built on a foundation of self-doubt. You could literally get the promotion, the amazing compliment, the ultimate validation, and then a few hours later you're thinking, oh, they were just being polite, or I just got lucky. If you don't actually believe you are enough, your brain is constantly going to search for reasons to dismiss the very compliments you're desperately seeking. Which brings us to section 3, the shift to self-trust. This is where we learn how to look inward. Okay, so the good news is that we absolutely can pivot away from this. We can stop relying on the external world and start building immense power internally through emotional intelligence. It's a total game changer. Self-validation acts like the glue for your identity. It basically means you stop rejecting who you are and you start honoring your genuine feelings without all that judgment. So instead of asking someone else if it's okay that you're upset, you just tell yourself, my feelings make sense. I am totally allowed to be frustrated right now. You have to stop gaslighting your own emotions. A big part of this is just slowing down. Using mindfulness lets you pause your nervous system. The next time you feel that sudden spike of anxiety, the one pushing you to over-explain yourself or instantly apologize, just pause. Take a deep breath, look inward, and ask, what do I think? What do I need right now? Am I changing who I am just to be accepted in this exact moment? All right, section 4, how to actually validate yourself. Let's look at some concrete therapy-backed steps you can start taking today. Now, healing definitely takes time, but by consistently practicing these steps, you actively teach your nervous system that it is completely safe to prioritize your own well being. The secret here is to start small. Choose a super low stakes situation to just say no to, and do it without over explaining yourself. Try scheduling a little alone time where you literally don't have to perform for anyone. The more you keep these tiny promises to yourself and honor your own boundaries, the less you're going to need that constant reassurance from the crowd. It really all boils down to practicing what's called radical genuineness, showing up authentically. You have to remember that you don't have to be perfect to be loved. You are allowed to be messy, you are allowed to make mistakes, and yes, you are allowed to disappoint people sometimes. Remember, the goal isn't to just stop caring about others entirely. The goal is to stop letting other people's opinions determine your actual worth. Believe me, they can handle your boundaries, and more importantly, so can you. I'm going to leave you with this final thought to ponder. Your confidence is going to grow exponentially when you finally stop asking, do they approve of me? And instead start asking, am I proud of the person I'm becoming? Because at the end of the day, the absolute most important approval you will ever receive is your own. So tell me, have you ever realized you were seeking validation instead of just trusting yourself? What's one step you can take today to begin to change that?